I wanted to talk about our guild for a little bit, just for a second, because a lot of guildies watch the podcast, and so before I officially begin the podcast, I wanted to chat about a couple things that have been happening. We had World v World Day on Sunday, and let me tell you something, man. We kicked some serious ass. I have the videos, I'm editing them still, but in a matter of 5 hours, we were able to take out the entire Darkhaven homeland completely. Absolutely annihilating them into the ground, to the point where they posted on Reddit and were like, Yak Spend is so organized, Darkhaven sucks. So power to fucking Yak Spend and power to Arcanix, because we did some serious damage that day. And it was awesome because we started out with like 10 of us guarding one trebuchet trying to break into a castle, and then we ended up with a zerg of fucking 50 million people that were just listening to everything we said, and it was so cool. Oh my god, we were just like, nobody jumped off to go kill like random stragglers. Everybody was in like a perfect V formation the entire time. It was sweet. We were like, Eagle!
Dan spent about half an hour dead.
Yeah. But it was fun as hell, and we will be doing a lot more of that. Speaking of guild-related events, we have decided that we are reopening the applications. But we are being very, very, very select. We're not like other guilds. We like to make sure that you actually apply and try to apply, and you put effort into your application. So if you're going to apply, please put some effort into your application. We read them all, and we take them pretty seriously, because that's our first impression of who you are, and we hope that you can make a good one. We've had our ups and downs. We've had our ins and outs. We've been figuring out, what it's all about to be a guild in Guild Wars 2, and there's a lot of things in Guild Wars 2 that makes it hard to be a guild, believe it or not. There's some downfalls to the system. One of those downfalls being group sizes. The 5-person group, while it sounds great and it's perfect for casuals, is not the best scenario for guilds. And it's not just grouping for events, it's grouping for guild-made events. So a lot of the times you can't find out where your friend is because you can only have parties of 5. So you have multiple parties of 5, and if one of those people gets lost, the whole group gets lost. So, we've been struggling to figure out how to keep things group oriented when the game definitely doesn't promote larger groups yet. Hopefully they'll change that. Just so that, I don't think you need to have a group of 10 go into a dungeon, but it would be nice to have the ability to make larger groups, I think. Just so we can be in the party together and feel like we're all together, instead of being like, is there any groups with an opening?
Something like the sort of raid party mechanic from, say, WoW, which allows you to have a large group of people, but also split them into smaller sort of subgroups of people within the greater umbrella of the party, so you could talk to people just specifically within your little section, but you can also talk to the raid in its completeness as well. Would be really great if it was possible to implement something like that, which they kind of have with World v World. So it'd be just sort of pulling that mechanic into a specific sort of party interface, I guess.
Yeah, and you could even use you could even use a grid like system. I don't know if you guys ever used grid in WoW, but I mean, it was literally just little blocks of health bars. You didn't even have names or anything. You could put that in the same 5-party menu and just leave it like that. So, you're not clicking to heal or anything like that, which is what grid usually was used for, but at least you know who was alive and who was dead.
Thank you for those who are sticking around and kicking some ass and being great. We appreciate you being in the guild. And to all those people that are looking for a guild, we appreciate you looking at ours. I think we have a great community, and a very strong one at that. Anyway, moving on. This is podcast number 13, brought to you by alttabme.com. We are here live at 5:15 p.m. Eastern every week on Mondays, except for today, where we had to push it one day because Brian was sick with something. We didn't want to have a podcast where he was puking in a bucket. I know it might sound exciting, but it probably would have worked out so well.
You could charge money for that video.
So 5:15 every Monday we are live, and then on Wednesdays we will be pushing it out to YouTube. You can check out all those things at altdabme.com, and you can see or ask questions or suggest items for the next podcast. And yeah, that's our spiel. So what are we talking about today with podcast number 13? We will be talking about the support mechanics of Guild Wars 2, as well as exploration, which I know everyone is very excited to talk about because it's one of the most exciting factors of this game. So that's going to be the last thing we talk about because we'll talk on forever, and I'd rather reel that in at the end than having to reel in the other stuff. Some things to note real quick. Really cool for Mac users. Guild Wars 2 just announced that they have made a beta client for Mac OS users. So if you have OS X, you can now play Guild Wars 2 natively on the Mac, which is awesome because I was just sitting, I have a Mac and a PC, and I do a lot of work on my Mac, and I was actually sitting today before I heard the announcement, and I was like, man, I got to reinstall OS X because some stuff is fucking up. And then I was like, oh, but then should I make a partition for Windows? I really want to have Guild Wars 2 when I'm on the road. And then I saw that thing, and I was like, holy shit, I can just install it right on my fucking computer. I don't have to have fucking Windows clogging up my Mac. Sweet, let's do this. So that's definitely exciting news and definitely a good step forward for Guild Wars 2. So they are listening, which is good. What else? I wanted to touch on something we talked about last week a little bit, and this will help us to transition into support a little bit. But we at the end of last week's podcast, we talked about the idea of dynamic events and getting kills and tagging things. What does that mean? That means that if you're in a group of people, which it doesn't have to be your party, when you're in a group of people that you see, you're automatically included in their group, and the quest can be completed by anyone in the zone. You don't have to party up for it. And one of the weird things about that is that in order to get experience for that event, you have to be killing things, aka tagging them. Now, when there's a group of 5,000 people and you're all in there, you don't actually have to try, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, is that you don't actually have to put a lot of effort in. And so what you have is you have a lot of people that have AoE abilities hitting the number 1 button over and over again, trying to tag every monster so they get the maximized amount of loot and the maximized amount of participation. So I just wanted to say that I don't necessarily think that's a good thing, and I think that Guild Wars 2 might want to take a look at the idea that these dynamic events are not really catering towards the idea of what they've been pushing this whole time, which is skill and knowing your class and being the best at your class and actually participating in these events to make a difference. Because right now you're just spamming skills to try to get the maximized amount of loot, where I think that these events somehow need to be tweaked, where if someone is just spamming number 1, they're not going to do any damage. And these mobs are, they're going down so fast with these giant groups. So these group events are feeling more like Zergfest and, zone out and go grab a cup of coffee while you're playing with one hand kind of thing. And that kind of sucks. It kind of takes away the immersion, and it's not as fun as you would think it would be. And that leads into the idea of support. The classes in this game that have the very strong support things are Guardian, Necromancer. I mean, everybody has support skills, but a lot of them have more of an emphasis on support than others. And the problem with that is that if you're rezzing your friends or you're buffing your party, that doesn't count towards your participation. So you could be a key instrumental person for these events. Like, you could be keeping your group up. Like, if they die, you res them. If they needed to do more damage, you buff them. And unfortunately, if you're not hitting the boss at the same time, which sometimes it's impossible if you're really, really, really just focusing on that support part of the game, you won't get contribution up to a gold standard. You'll get maybe bronze or silver or maybe none at all. And I've been noticing a lot of people that are running support feeling very conflicted because how do you oh man, the word is totally eluding me. But how do you really get into the idea that I am a support class and I want to help my friends when you're not being rewarded for it? And I think the rewards for people that are helping need to be, I need that somehow the game has to recognize when you've helped versus just doing damage, because right now damage is the only way that it recognizes that you've actually participated or contributed to the event. Damien, what do you think about the support, that the way it is right now?
I think it's really frustrating because I mean I like playing support characters. You know, I used to back in the day I used to main tank for a guild and stuff like that. So I understand that concept of like I'm not the hero of the story. I'm enabling other people to be the people pushing out the giant damage and doing that sort of stuff. And I'm really just there to sort of enable them to have that sort of, you know, A-level experience, I guess. And I mean, I remember an experience in Ore with one of the events. There was it's like a encampment, and there's 2 entry points, and there's undead just coming through both points, and there's this guardian standing at the front of one of those points, just drops down that line of warding, so that suddenly those enemies just can't get into the base, and it just created this kill zone directly outside the base that we could just rain hell upon all these undead, and we're just decimating them. And if that was me being that guardian, I'd be like, yeah, like I enabled that. That was me that did that allowed just everyone else to just go and just have an easy time of just destroying all these undead. But if I'm not getting rewarded for that, I'm going to think, well, what was the point? Yeah, that was cool, and yeah, I felt great. But then the game didn't give me anything for it. So why would I keep doing that? You know, I would just do something else that lets me gain the contribution. You know, which I think is, I really think they need to look at it. I think really they need to do something. I think the game should register that you've given out lots of buffs, or you've affected the gameplay in some way. I don't know how they would change it if they did, but there needs to be something that they can do. There must be something they can do to fix this problem, because it's not good enough as the way it stands. Well, I really think they need to really lift that.
It was funny because me and Guy, when we were talking earlier, we were saying how Guild Wars 2 is kind of out of its honeymoon period right now, which is, it's funny because it sounds like we're bagging on the game. Don't get us wrong. We're not bagging on the game. We all enjoy the game here. But I feel as though we have definitely gotten over that initial, oh my God, look at everything. And we're starting to get a little more, you know, we're starting to pinpoint things that don't feel right, and that other games may do better. And Guild Wars 2 has been that game that has taken the other games and been like, we're going to do this better, we're going to do that better, we're going to do this better. And now we're looking at certain things and we're going, hey guys, you said you do this better, but in hindsight, you're not actually doing it better. And it's causing some weird rifts between, you know, the way that you play the game and the way that it rewards you. So we're not bagging on the game, so to say, but we're definitely more interested in pointing out where we think there might be some flaws, or where new players might go, but I don't understand. I thought this game told me I could do it this way, and I can't. Or you can, you're just not rewarded for it. And so it, like Damien said, it doesn't feel as good. So there's a lot of things that. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I think part of the problem is that when they were designing the professions, they wanted to say that like anyone can do anything, and I think the imbalance there originally was that so many people wanted to do damage over anything else that they thought, well, let's free it up so everyone can do damage if they want. And they did a really good job of doing that, but I think they took it a little bit too far, because there are people who do like to have that support role. You know, there are, like in WoW, there were priests who weren't just Discipline or Holy Spec because their guild made them do it. It's because that's what they wanted to do. They weren't just going to switch to Shadow. Yeah, Bruce, as soon as, you know, they were given the option. So I think like you have these dynamic events where you have these people who are like, yes, I want to go in there, I want to be a tank, or I want to be a healer, I want to support everyone else, and ArenaNet's like, wait, really? You do? I thought everyone just wanted to do damage, which I think is the difficulty they're running into. They fixed that problem a little too well, so to speak.
Yeah, and you definitely can fit any role you want. It's just that certain roles don't. It comes down to reward versus participation, and it just doesn't reward you enough for it. One of the interesting things is that Guild Wars 2 has always promoted the idea of best way I can describe it is that at my dad's birthday party this weekend, me and John, the other guy that's sometimes in the podcast, we were talking about the idea of Guild Wars 2 to a friend, and we were trying to convince them of why they should play Guild Wars 2. We had a lot of difficulty doing this. The reason for that is because you have to get into Guild Wars 2. Like, you have to play it to understand it. It does so many things differently that they're like, well, what's it like? And you're like, well, it's not really like anything. It's kind of a feeling you get. It's nostalgia in a way. It reminds you of an old, MUD you might have played. It reminds you of an epic battle you saw in Lord of the Rings. It reminds you. I mean, it's so hard to explain the way that the mechanics work in this game in a way that somebody can relate it to something else. That's one of the things that when a person finally gets into the game and they try it out and they get that good feeling, and then they're not rewarded for it. That's where you start to get in that gray area of people going, oh, well, I thought this was different. Age of Conan, for instance, great support game. Yes, they had direct healing, but your direct healing was damage related. So just like this game, you had to do damage and heal. And God, you were rewarded for it. You had to be in the middle of that battle, and every attack you did proc the heal or help to keep your party alive. And without you in the middle of the battle, you couldn't heal. You couldn't just sit in the back and tab on targets and stuff like that. And while there is no technical healing, there are definitely spells in this game that give you an advantage when it comes to health regeneration. And when you're in the middle of a fight, and let's say, for instance, the Guardian, who has this buff on its staff ability where you tab it and you give people might, and it also heals everybody at the end of it. That's all you can do. It locks you out of attacking. So it's immediately taken away that aspect of you can do DPS and heal at the same time. You're literally locked into helping the party and helping the party. There's no other way around it. And so when there's a skill that specifically relates to locking yourself out into a support role, you need to be, oh God, I feel like a broken record, but you need to be rewarded for it. Because it's a big skill. It's a big skill that you have at that point. So right now you have a lot of people that are zerging events, and nobody really needs to support in those zergs because of the fact that it literally is just tagging mobs and getting experience or loot for that.
But on the flip side of it too, they would have to balance it because as a ranger, what if I just go with a 3 spirit build, make it so they can walk, and I just literally walk around with 3 spirits, giving everyone these buffs of these spirits. Don't even do a thing, just walk. You would have to balance that kind of side too. So there's got to be some kind of give and take.
Yeah,
it would be nice if you got some credit, but they obviously can't do just pure credit for just support as well.
No, I agree.
It would be nice if they had, something like if you need 10 points to get a gold and 1 point for buffing X number of people or however many people are in the vicinity, and then 2 points for doing X amount of damage on X mob and something like that, and then you get 10 points for that event because you did that much and other things contribute. I think that's what they need to do, get some kind of a point ranking system on each event, and certain things give you extra points.
I guess it comes down to how that system currently works, I guess. Because, there have been dynamic events that I've encountered in the game playing my ranger does sort of massive sort of crit build, and I'll walk up to a mob, do a giant crit on it, kill it, and then the event will finish, and I'll be like, oh look, I got silver. And that's all I did. I got into range of the dynamic event. Oh cool, dynamic event. And oh, silver, sweet. And then I just move on. You know, and that's sort of go Ranger.
But even that isn't rewarding. Unfortunately, that's like
exactly.
a fleeting
reward. It doesn't feel rewarding. I don't feel like I've done anything. I've just gone, nah.
And that's where I think
Whatever.
people are starting to, and that's why I think people are starting to farm. There's a lot of people that are farming the end zones for gold and loot, and I don't think that ArenaNet isn't aware. I think they're very aware that people are doing this, and I know that that's not what they are intended for. And they needed a massive amount of people to be playing the game to really, do a test on this. That's just the way MMOs work. Until you get everyone in there, there's no amount of QA testing that can really show you what's going to happen here. And so you've got people, and I've gotten a couple messages on YouTube asking, what do you do at high level zones? Once you hit 80, is the game over? And I'm going to tell you this right now, it's not over. It's still very exciting. There's still a lot of things to do. But if you're an early adopter type of a person, where you're first in a game and you want to max out your gold, you want to max out the amount of broken events that you can take advantage of, you want to max out the amount of gold, but max out the amount of items you get in loot and stuff like that, then yes, farming right now is the most
beneficial.
Thank you. Most beneficial way to do that, and that's causing a little bit of strife, especially among the people that came to this game to get away from that. Now, I haven't done a lot of those events. I still don't like that. So what I've done is when people are doing that, I'll do the event, and then I'll move on. And that's where we're going to get into with the exploration, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But a lot of that has to do with exploration and being able to go back to zones and stuff like that, and the dungeons and getting dungeon rewards, and then crafting and getting new weapons and making your character look cool. And there's all sorts of really cool aesthetic stuff, and just there's a lot to be done. But right now, for those early adopters that want to make sure that they are number one, they're going to go farm. And as you've seen today, ArenaNet even addressed one of them where you could farm explorable dungeons, which that's not the point of an explorable dungeon. The idea of an explorable dungeon was to be a harder version of that first dungeon with A, more story, which they've done really well, and B, harder content that you had to really group together and figure out. It wasn't supposed to be I need this many badges so I can get this piece of armor, farming. And someone found out a way to farm those dungeons, and they patched it. And so you can't do that anymore. So I think the next thing that you're going to see...
I wonder if...
Oh, go ahead.
I wonder if they patched because the one that I've seen, I saw it on YouTube, was a way to farm one of the explorable mode for the Flame Citadel, or Citadel of Flame.
Yes, that's the one they did. That's the one they patched.
They could do it in like 17 minutes or something.
That's the one they patched.
Like, what?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. So, but I mean, ArenaNet have always been on top of that sort of stuff. So.
But right now, it's interesting because you've got ArenaNet playing almost catch up with the exploits people are finding. I mean, not necessarily. They're not exploits in the term of, oh my God, I'm taking advantage of this. They're exploits in the fact of it's not intended to be that way. And a lot of people are taking advantage of those things, and so they're playing catch up. And unfortunately, I'd like to see them look at the way that these events happen and the way that the contribution works, and maybe reworking it a little bit so that, I mean, even an example, and this is probably the worst example ever, so, screw me because I'm not a developer, but, the way that when you do like those gathering quests where you're handing in stuff to a mob, an NPC, and your bar is slowly ticking up and it shows you how much you've contributed. It would be cool if when you're in an event and you're either doing damage or supporting or buffing, maybe it shows you how far into that you are. So if you're fighting this big dragon that just spawned down, you know that if you just keep DPSing this dragon, that bar's not filling up anymore. Well, shit, maybe I should go and help them from the giant spikes of ice that are coming out of the ground and causing all of us to die. Oh, look, I killed that piece of ice. My contribution just went up like half. Holy shit. I need to do other things and just sit there and DPS and talk on the phone and text and go on Facebook and check my Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I think it would help. And a lot of people might argue against that because they'll be like, well, that breaks the immersion. But right now, without knowing, it breaks the immersion too, because you're sitting there going spam, 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 spam. You know, and then you're just, and it's a roll of the dice, and you're like, well, did I get the right contribution or not? Did I do what I was supposed to do or not?
I agree they need to change it. I disagree with the progress bar for the reason that you'll then have people going, oh, I got full progress. See ya. Let us leave.
No, I agree.
I'll just move on to the next event. You know, no, whatever. No, I'm done. I've got my contribution. I'll get gold.
Well,
See you
so
guys
maybe
later.
it would be, maybe to stop that as an exploit, you have to be in the area still. You still have to stay in the area where the event's going on, because right now you can run away from an event after tagging 2 mobs and you know you're going to get gold.
Well, hold on. There's possibly another side to that, though, because... Sorry, Uvu just hopped something up on me. Because if you have that where you can see, okay, I've done gold or whatever, there's 2 things. One is, if the event fails, you're still not going to get a lot. So there's, you might want to stick around and make sure that it goes well. And even if, whether or not you stay there, it goes well, like, it'll still, they'll still pull through. Then if that person leaves, it gives someone else a chance to come in and do some damage or something and get a little bit of contribution themselves.
Yeah, I mean, when I first played the beta and I got to that first dragon that dynamically spawns in the God Lost Swamp, is that it? I'm not exactly sure what that swamp is called, but this dragon just spawned.
It's a big shadow beast.
And the shadow behemoth spawned. I swear to God, I've never seen a group of people more helpful in my life. Like, there was level 2s there. Like, they should not have been there. And they were dying, man. They were just like, man. And you see these level 20s running around and going, heal. And they're rezzing these people. And you're like, you're helping the level 2? And they were like, yeah, we need everybody we can get. And you could see them all yelling in chat, res people, res people, res people. And that's awesome. But now, unfortunately, you see a dead person on the ground. You're like, oh, stop dying. You're stopping me from hitting F to get my fucking loot. God damn it. I want to stop dying in the middle of the mobs that I tagged. I want the loot. I don't want to res you. It's like the opposite
No,
effect.
looting has top priority now.
Yes, but if you're spamming it like me, then you're still going to res the guy, and then you're stuck in resing animation. And you're like, damn it, no! And then you die, and nobody reses you because they're like, fuck you, get out of my loot! So, it's a really bad circle, But I think they just need to... I think they can fix it. I think they can fix it, and I think they will fix it. I just think that they need more people, that are vocal about it. We're vocal. We're a podcast. We're vocal. So I think they need more people saying, hey, guys, we like your game. We're enjoying your game. But this doesn't feel right. This isn't working. There's something not right about this. We want to feel like we can help with an event just like if we were helping in real life. Not everyone gets to be, Superman. Some people have to be Lois Lane. Some people have to be the poor guys on the ground that the, building drops on and they die. And then, some people have to be the weird medics that are getting paid union rates because they get to wear the union suits. And, everybody has a different role in this show.
I'm Batman.
And he's Batman. So... But you get the point, is that everybody's role is just as important as everybody else. Otherwise, you don't actually have a film. You have, Superman flying around in his underwear, and it turns into a strange, strange porno. So, we don't want that to happen.
Hang on.
he's Batman. Yeah. So... But yeah, so I mean, I'd like to see us get past the idea of the Zergs. I'd like to see people stop farming for gold, because there really is so much to do. Right now, tactics do not overpower DPS. DPS is your greatest form of support right now. A dead monster is easier to defend against than keeping 4 people up against the live monster. So, and you've got so many cool support abilities. You've got knockbacks, you've got control abilities, you've got walls, lines of warding, you've got AoE, you've got heals that are just given regen. I mean, so many passives and stuff like that. It should feel more rewarding than it really does. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else about support? Or are we talking this one in the ground?
It's not. It's a little bit off topic, but I did have something I wanted to add about the dynamic events and tagging things and so on, which is, I think, one of the things that they should change, and I know people will probably disagree with me on this one, is that a big part of the reason why people are farming in ore all the time is to get all this gold and stuff, because really the best way to make money right now is just selling things on the trading post.
Yeah.
Which I'm acutely aware of because I still do not have reliable access to it. But, I mean, if you can't do that, then there's not a lot of ways to make decent money in this game, so people are hyper-focused on the loot because that's their income. I think they should add other ways to get a reasonable amount of money to just
So what do you want?
for everyday things.
You want dailies? Is that
No!
what you want?
You know what? Not exactly, but that was having to get on and do the same thing every day is really annoying, but it was decent money. Like, it wasn't going to get you everything that you could possibly want in the game, but it'll get you by, It was a reliable source of income, so to speak. And you get a couple silver from the events, but it's not really enough.
But see, you still get good. Well, it's one thing if you're farming one event to one event, then back to the other event, then back to that event, then back to that event. That's what people are doing right now. They're finding the quickest events that are going back and forth. And I can't blame them for doing it because it's in the game and you can do it. But to go from this event to this event, then to go to the next event, then to the next event, you're still making good money. You're still getting good loot. But people don't want to do it because it's not the maximum efficient way of doing it. And I've been trained from God knows how long ago to do that, to do the back and forth, because it is most efficient.
Yeah.
And I've actually stepped away from it because it got boring for me. And that's not what this game was for. This game was for breaking the mold, doing something new, something fun, something, the carrot on the stick it just wasn't for me anymore. I didn't want that carrot on the stick. I have to admit, I'm probably one of the poorest guys in our guild right now, but you know what? When I'm logging on every day, I would like to say I'm guaranteed more fun than some of the other people. I ask them every day. I know a lot of people that go from one event to the other, and I ask them, are you still having fun doing that? Like, yeah, I'm getting good gold. It's like, are you having more fun doing that? And it's like, oh, I'm getting good gold.
Well, and that's something that we need to be. But you need to be aware of that, and ArenaNet needs to be aware of that because we are creatures of habit. And if wow, you guys both just like took a fucking hit right there. But we're creatures of habit, and just in general. And if there's an event or there's a place that will let you do that, you are guaranteed people will do it. So ArenaNet needs to take a look at that, and they need to do something about it. And the bigger fact is that they need to really look at how events run. And when you get these massive amounts of people coming to help with an event, how do you justify support into that role? Or is support just not meant to really be there? You know what I mean? Like, either fix the event or remove support. I don't think support's broken. I think support works great because when you're in a dungeon, oh my God, support is out of this world awesome. You wish you had 50 guardians next to you. You wish you had a necromancer that was spec'd into some sort of healing because support is really, really, really key in dungeons. But when you're at an event in the game, support is like, meh. I got 20 guys behind me that are going to out DPS your might buff any day, so screw it. And I need my loot too, so spam, 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 spam. You know what I mean? So I think support is great when it comes to a very test blah, blah, a place where things are, regulated. The words, I don't have words today. I'm like totally shit, man.
The words, they're gone.
Too much alcohol at my dad's party, I think. Anyway.
Tristan drinking?
Yeah.
But don't do that.
Then he'd be like, "This is the Old Time Me podcast."
Nice.
Anyway,
no,
so
right. That's me in 2 hours. Don't worry about it.
So we don't sound like we're totally ragging on the idea of the game here, because we all are still very happy with the game. I want to talk about what you can do if you don't want to be one of those early adopters of exploits. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it there, is that these are not going to be there forever. You're not going to be able to make gazillions of gold by farming forever. ArenaNet's going to take it out. They've done it in Guild Wars 1 when there was problems. They took it out. They already did it with the explorable dungeon. They're going to take it out. So if you really need to do it and you want to be bored for a couple hours, go ahead. Go do your thing. Make your money. If that's what makes you happy, go ahead. But it's going to be gone. I can guarantee that. They've been very good at keeping this game safe for players that are going to fall into habits and make their experience feel like something, and grindy, like WoW, because WoW is grindy, and it really is. Anyway,
or just go level for 10 levels in a certain area where
right?
there's a certain series of events that repeat over and over again.
I don't know who would do that. It's so boring. Anyway, there is the other thing we wanted to talk about was exploration. And I think we've kind of been like teetering on it the entire time we've been talking about it here, where we're talking about these events and the fact that you could sit there and grind all day, and people at Endgame, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Oh my God, there's so much to do. And let me just, I'm sorry, I'm going to like rant here for a minute, because I've been thinking about this for so long. I was going to write about it, but then I was like, you know what? Let me just talk about it. I know. So everybody get your coffee, get your popcorn. It's going to happen right now. In my UO days, in my Ultima Online days, exploration. So this was a game, if you didn't know, Ultima Online was the first MMO to come out, where you had this massive world. And are you falling asleep? What is this? That's not right. That's not right. I thought you were dead for a second. Anyway, so UO was this game where you literally were just plopped into a world, and they were just like, go ahead, do your thing. It's cool. Go find whatever you want. And so I remember the first thing I did. Well, the first thing I did was I went up to another person that I saw, and I said, "Are you real?" And they were like, "Yeah, oh my God." And so, but it was more like, "Are you?" Because I couldn't type back then because I was really slow. Anyway, after I got that out of my system, what I did was I was a tamer. That was what we were called back then, and we would tame animals. So I went into the woods outside the West Britain Bank, and I was all like, let me walk into the woods and see what's out there. And there was nothing out there. There were maybe some bears and some rabbits and some weird monsters that would kill me, and I would die, and I'd lose all my shit because in the game everything dropped, and you would like fucking freak out, and you'd run back to the healer and try to run back to your corpse, and you get back there, loot your shit, and then they kill you again, and you start crying. But it was so exciting. It gives me nostalgia just talking about it. Like, it was so exciting to run outside of this world and just look around and be like, what is there in this zone? And what is this? And listening to music, and then it would start raining, and you were like, I feel like I'm in this game. If you play, to this day, if you play the intro music from Ultima Online, I get chills. Like, it's that ingrained in my head, because what we did was we explored, and there was no reward for that exploration. Nothing. Your reward was that you got to go out and see the world and see what was out there. You could go place a house, you could go do whatever. And so the world itself was your reward. Guild Wars 2, and I wrote about this a while ago on alttabme.com. I wrote about how Ultima Online gave me a feeling of, I said Guild Wars 2 is the Ultima Online of 2012. And the reason I say that is because when you're exploring in Guild Wars 2, it is so rewarding. It's beyond belief. Our guild is going to have an event on Sunday where we are literally, and I made these rules very specific. We're not allowed to talk on Mumble. We're not allowed to use any voice communication. We're all meeting up in the human city, and we are going to textually chat to each other, and we're going to walk around the city with our sound and our music on, and we're going to see what we find. Because I've done this in a couple of the other cities, a couple of the other zones, and if you walk around and you just listen, the NPCs are having conversations that are so exciting and so interesting, and they tell you so much about the story that you've gone through or you're going to go through or you've done in your personal story. It's all relevant to you and the world around you that you want to just sit there and you want to just watch. And so let's say like there's this guy talking to a bartender and they're talking about stuff. You'll hear another NPC in the background. If you're a Char in, let's say you're in Ebonhawk, this is the city where they really don't like the Char because that was where, I don't want to get the lore wrong. Damien, what happened in Ebonhawk with the Char in Guild Wars 1?
Well, they've tried to attack it about 10 billion times.
Yeah, so they have a pretty big hatred for the Char. So I'm running around there. I'm a human, and my friend is a Char, and she's getting yelled at by the NPCs. They're like, "Oh, we don't want your kind here. What the hell are you doing here? Oh, you smell, blah, blah, blah." And so I'm sitting here at the bar enjoying this conversation because I'm a human, and they're all like, "Woo, we're cool with you." And then she's getting bitched at by like a dude in the corner being like all drunk and shit, like, "Fuck Char, damn Char, always trying to get in our stuff. The hell are you doing here?" So we're having a different experience, right? And with the cool bubbles popping up over their heads with the text and stuff, you almost feel like you want to participate. And so that's what part of this event that we're having is that we're going to go out there and we're going to only talk to each other with chat. So we have to stay close to each other. We have to work together, and we're going to explore together. And you could walk into any building and you're almost guaranteed that there's something exciting in there, be it a random book on the ground that you can read that has some history in it, be it a random NPC conversation that's happening. I mean, there's just so many little random moments that Ultima Online didn't have, but we still felt rewarded in Ultima Online because we were exploring and the world was there for us. In this game, they've made the world there for us, and they've made it very exploration heavy, but they've given you that carrot on the end of the stick, as Bruce said, that you can get, that you can grab it and take a giant bite out of it and be like, "This is the best damn fucking carrot that I ever done eat." Fucking Bugs Bunny's pissed off at you because you finally got the thing he wanted. So, copyright Disney or... Yeah.
He always had a lot of carrots, though.
He did. He always had a lot of carrots. He was always throwing them away, half done. It was a waste. He promoted wasting of food. Poor people watch Bugs Bunny and they're like, "I hate you."
Considering the original voice actor the original voice actor hated carrots.
Yep.
Really?
Anyways,
Wow.
segue.
No, but it's one of those things that, and the reason that we're doing it without mumble is that I want everybody to hear what's going on around us. And when somebody sees something cool, it's almost as if you become part of the world, because when you see someone type in chat and it pops up over their head, it looks just like the NPCs does, and it'll say, "Hey, let's go over there. Somebody's talking." And so you'll see that, and you'll feel like you're immersed in this world, and you'll follow. And it's like you're on a ride. It's the coolest thing I think I've ever experienced in any game since Ultima Online. And that's my diatribe of why I think exploration is so cool in this game. It's because they reward you for the smallest things that you might do. So.
Yeah. I was gonna say that one of the things I really love about the exploration in the game is that it's not just a show. You can go and find things. I mean, sometimes you get rewarded with just loot, the chest or something. But you can interact, like you were mentioning with Ebonhawk and them not liking the Char there. I play a Char, so I go to Ebonhawk for most of my crafting and whatnot. And it's great because, I almost treat it like a home city. Like, if I had a Hearthstone or something, I would put it there. Because I wander down the street, and it's there's a heart quest there that there's, the Separatists are in town, and so there's, posters up on the wall and whatnot. And even though I've already done it, they're still there. I can still interact with them. So, I come back to my town, and, oh, damn, there's another poster up over there, and I can rip it down. And then they have those random NPCs run up to you and start saying, "Oh, I hate Char, what are you doing here, blah, blah, blah." But you can. I mean, you said it would be great to interact with them. I don't know if every race can do this, but with Char, you can interact with them. Because there's ones that run up to you and like yell at you. When you go to talk to them, it then goes to a whole dialogue, and you actually have an argument with them, and you try to convince them, oh, it's better now that, you know, we're getting along, and the people who died didn't die in vain and whatnot. So it really is. I mean, like, I just came to town to check my bank and do a little bit of crafting, but now I'm like in this random argument with an NPC that I've, just ran up to me. So
It's cool. The world role plays with you, and I know all the people that like hate role play just went to their happy place, and all they hear is beach in the background. But panties, are you guys back? You guys back? All right, cool. So no, but it's nice because you feel like the world actually wants you there, and it wants to interact with you, and you feel and it's funny because I used to talk about this one member we have, Callie. She likes to, during our dungeon runs, she likes to type random things as the other characters are typing, like their bubbles are popping up. So like the bubbles are popping up and no one's talking in mumble. And all of a sudden you see like her character, but you kind of forget it's her character, and she'll be like yelling at them like for what they just said. And so it turns into a whole different story that she just made. And it's so rewarding to just see that. It's funny, it's interesting, and it can make the game more fun than what was intended, which is really cool. So, and that's cool, Brian. I didn't know that you could actually interact with them as a char. That's interesting to hear that.
oh yeah,
So, I mean,
it's pretty cool.
there was a place in one of my guild members, when I posted the podcast prep and I was talking about exploration. She told us that she wanted me to come and check out this little area, and it turned out that this guy was in a cave, and I won't tell you where it is or basically what it all is. I don't want to spoil it, but there's this guy in a cave, and this beast has been haunting him, and yada 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 yada. And so we're following it, and we're clicking little things on the ground, and it's telling us bits and pieces of the story. And when you finally click the last piece, the ghosts appear. They're not monsters. You can't kill them. But they appear and walk through like it's a Scrooge movie. And they like walk through one wall into the other. And you're just like, that was awesome. And they're like having a conversation about what really happened. And you're just like, so it's like these little movie moments in a game that you're trying to kill, and right now you're farming the crap out of everything for the most gold. But if you don't do that and you leave and you just check the world out around you, wow, it's very rewarding, and it's hard to find everything. You may think you have 100% completion of every map because you've done all the nodes and you've done all the skill points and all the heart quests. You haven't even touched it. There's areas in the map that you might not actually open up that don't even have hearts in them. So like it wouldn't even tell you to go there. So it's not even going to promote the idea of going over there. If you want to explore that area, it'll reveal itself to you, which is very, very cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to go into next. Even if you get 100% in a zone, you are not 100% done with the zone. I mean, I've had instances where I'll still see a blurred spot on my map, because when I go into a zone, I like to 100% complete, because that's the little bit left of me that's completionist. I need my reward. But I'll still be like, oh, well, there's still that corner of the map that I haven't been to, and somehow my gathering nodes didn't lead me to that area either, so there must be something really cool over there. And I've found more ghost events than anything. Like, I'm telling you, this world is just littered with ghosts. They are everywhere, and they're always telling a story. I'm telling you, like, you will always find ghosts. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a char, and, I always end up in char zones, and there are a frick ton of ghosts.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, I can't even count how many times I've been like, who the fuck is talking? And I look over, and I see a spirit, like, walking through. It's just like, where the hell did you come from?
Why are you here?
I'm just in these zones, like, I'm not even really... But sometimes it's like, I'll hear it in a distance, and I'm looking around, I don't see it, it's like, okay, maybe I didn't notice anything, and maybe I just walked too far away, but it really does help when it really does help when you just kind of keep your eyes and ears open. I mean, a lot of us are in Mumble a lot, so sometimes I probably have missed a bunch of stuff because I do like to talk with people while I'm playing, but at the same time, the other day, I just needed a day where, you know what, I didn't feel like talking to anyone. I wanted to take the world in a little bit, and I'm telling you, it was really one of the better experiences I've had, because I just got to enjoy the game for the game. And I don't think nearly as many people that should be taking advantage of it are. And I think really people just need to realize that it's there.
I think that's where ArenaNet, and that's why we tied both support and exploration together, and these events and mob tagging and stuff like that. It's because they're very relative to each other. You have right now the level 80s doing what level 80s do, grinding, because it's available. But they're missing out on what the game has to offer right now. And so you get a lot of people that message you or post on our forums, and they're like, but what do you do at 80? I don't understand. That's what you do at 80. You go and explore the world. You go back down. I leveled two characters to 80. 2. I still haven't seen every zone in this game. I haven't seen everything. I leveled in completely different zones for my second level 80. I was dumbfounded. I was like, holy crap, there's more zones? What the hell? Oh, the Shatterer's here? Fuck yeah. You know, I mean, it was like, that was so cool to me. And then when you hit 80, there's other 80 zones. You don't just have to go to Ore. Ore is not the end all be all. There's a Norn one. There's the one with the panda bears or whatever the fuck those things are.
Frostgorge sound.
Yeah, the big bear people, you know.
Don't call them panda bears.
Let's play pandas.
Not panda bears.
They're polar bears.
Polar bears.
No, I think he's got Mop on the mind right now.
Panda bears.
Oh no, I don't. No.
We've had so much panda influence.
Too much panda. Panda on the brain, Tristan?
Oh yeah. What's up?
He's converting back.
Yeah. What have you been doing for the last week? Well, I've been playing WoW. I just got tired of all the dynamic events and really fun, freeing, non-grindy things I had to do in Guild Wars 2, so I had to go back to that. I wanted to feel like I was at a job again. God damn it. I needed to be working.
I needed to feel employed.
I needed that next piece of gear so I could finally compete in the arena, god damn it.
Slightly related to what you were just saying, though, something that really hit me when I hit 80 was, like, in other games when you reach max level, like, the world almost gets smaller because there's no reason to go to those lower level zones anymore. But, like, hitting level 80 in Guild Wars 2 is just... It essentially just opens things up. Like, now that you're 80, you can go to pretty much every zone. And there's still reasons to go. Even if you do, like, 100% completion, there's still stuff to find in there. But, like, the point where it really hit me how big this world is and how much there is to explore was I was level 80, and someone was like, oh, you want to run this dungeon? I was like, oh, I've never done that. Yeah, I'll come help you. And they're like, oh, where is it? It's like, oh, I'll send you a waypoint. And I click on it, and I look. And there are 3 entire zones that I don't even know the name of because I've never even, like, wandered into a corner of one of them between me and where they are. Like, how can there be this much stuff that I didn't even glance at on my way to 80? And this isn't even like the rest of the game. This is just in one direction. And it's huge. There's so much to see.
Yeah.
There's 2 things of it. The game is clearly a labor of love by ArenaNet, and we adore them for it because it shows in every, beautiful landscape and every, ripple water effect, and every time some NPC says something random as you're walking past, you go, oh my god, like someone had to think about that and then write it and put it in and had to be voice acted and all that sort of thing. But also that stuff about, I mean, in Guild Wars 1, they've managed to achieve this again. Guild Wars 1, level 20 was the level cap. And the level cap was only the beginning, because you would hit the level cap before you finished your storyline, and there was just so much stuff beyond just the quote-unquote main quest line to do that you could just keep doing stuff forever. So, and then with this, they managed to do it with level 80, that, like, you hit level 80, and level 80 is just the start. You've only just scratched the surface of what this game has to offer. Like, for the first week and a half, I think, I didn't touch World v World, and I didn't touch structured PvP at all. Didn't touch them. Didn't even go. Just like, no, I'm just experiencing the world they've created, and I think I'm at like 48% 100% map completion or something like that, because I've only 100%ed about 2 zones, but I've been to most of the zones now. I think there's still like 1 or 2 zones I haven't been to, but there's just so much beyond, oh, I fit level 80, so now I'm just going to be in Frostgorge Sound, or I'm going to be in Straits of Devastation, or Kirsch, or the Battlecourse Leap. You know, that's it. That's level 80. There's so much to just, you know, I was going to make a really corny line before and say, you know, stop it, swallow the pixels. But, you know, just go, seriously, just go to a zone. If you haven't done it yet, just go to a zone that you haven't touched yet. Just go to one. Just pick one at random. Just, that one, you know, and just go there.
You're going to Corvus's zone.
And just go through it, because every zone has a story. Every zone has its own story. So if you go to Harathi Hinterlands, there's a fight going on between the Seraph and the Centaurs. And there's stories going on with, like, the Centaurs have been, you know, capturing Seraph soldiers and putting their heads on spikes and otherwise taunting the Seraph and lots of things. And there's actually one that I found, which is there's an event you can do, which is a back way into the Centaur sort of like headquarters, and you can sort of take them by surprise by coming through this sort of secret passage, which is full of grubs, and because this woman's looking for her husband who's been missing, and then it turns into this, oh, now we can just fucking crush the Centaurs from this angle they never expected us to come from, because they're expecting us to bash down the gate. And no, we're not doing that, because we're now inside your complex, and we're just running around and crushing stuff. And there's this whole... And that's optional. You don't even need to see that story. You could just do the standard, okay, so we took this camp, we fought this guy, and we destroyed this thing, and then we destroyed the gate, and then we did the thing. And you could never see that other story that's there. But if you go and just wander around and just see something in a zone you haven't seen before, and I guarantee you'll just be like, I'm so glad I did that. Because, wow, I just had a really cool experience.
Well, that just brings up the old argument of the leveling curve that people had for so long, because they were just going from heart to heart to heart to heart. And, you know, if you follow some of those events, that they literally bring you through the world. And if you go into one of these zones that you've never been to, don't even look for the hearts. Literally just start wandering. And if you come across one, help yourself and do it. But if you see the dynamic event on the way, go do that instead.
Oh, yeah.
Like, follow some of these escorts, and don't just, when it's done, don't just run away. I mean, it's not over. Typically, it'll go to something else. You can find some of these chains that really take you across some very long stretches of map.
Yeah, I think that's...
And they bring you into some of these zones that don't... Yeah, they bring you into these areas. They give you the story, they give you the exploration, and you won't find some of these things unless you follow these breadcrumbs.
I think a lot of people actually
and that's
make
by
that
design.
I think a lot of people walk through that
yeah,
by
it is by
accident.
design.
I think what happens is an event ends and you'll notice that all of a sudden your group thinned out really quickly. But if you just stick around and wait to hear what those NPCs have to say, you'll know if they're going to go forward or if they're just done where they're at. And sometimes when they're done where they're at, they get attacked. It's like, oh, we made it. Okay, we're safe. And then they're talking, hey, that's cool. I made it. All right, you want to pop up on a drink? Fuck centaurs! You know, like... So, if you just hang out for a second, they really have put a lot of finesse on the story. And I guess for people that, you know, don't read and stuff like that, me being one of them, that's hard to figure out, except they've voiced them. So, for people that don't read like me, I just have to sit there and listen. But a lot of people, I guess, are used to having, you know, death metal in their ears while they play, or Evanescence while they play games or something. And so they can't hear what's going on. But I mean, there's so many things too. Like at level 80, I hadn't finished my personal story, and the other day I actually did what Bruce did, and I spent a little time by myself, no voice chat, nothing. And I went from level 70 storyline all the way to the end of it. And wow, what a cool storyline. Like, there's been moments in my storyline, by the way, where I've been like a little teary. I'm like, what? Are you kidding? And let me tell you something. I don't know who dubbed the Norn as the token black person in this game, but in every situation, the Norn will die first. What the fuck? This from the whitest kids you know. What's going on, guys? Hey! No, but seriously, come on. Did you also know that, talk about digging holes, there is a place in one of the char zones that you can, if you're just walking around the world, I saw this on one of the Yogscasts, actually. This guy, he was just walking around, and all of a sudden, he just falls through the world. And he's in a cave. And this little girl is there. And she goes, "Help me! Finally, someone's here to help me!" And you're like, what? He just fell into a random hole, and bam, there's a quest now, and he has to follow this thing out to save this little girl. Or he can leave her there to die, but you can choose one or the other. And it was just, oh man, it's that kind of like finesse they added to this game that just makes me so happy. And there's so much to do and so much to see.
So what's that? Timmy's down the well?
Yeah, Timmy felt, what? I wish there was like a little puppy that ran up to you and was like, woof, 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 woof.
What's that? Timmy fell down the well.
Yeah. Speaking of puppies, there's a puppy at some point. There's a puppy at some point in this game. I'm not going to tell you where, but God, it's annoying, and it's really, really whoever wrote this, it's got to be their dog that they're talking about, because, oh my God, it is like incestual, animalistic love for this dog. It's a little creepy. I don't know what's going on with this. It's an personal story. That's all I'll tell you. Anyway, Brian, what were you saying? Sorry.
I was gonna say,
Bruce, come on, man.
The example you're giving is something I really love about the dynamic events, because if you've been to a zone a bunch of times, you still might not know everything that goes on there, because maybe it just wasn't happening while you were there. Like there's a couple of places that I'll run through on like a regular basis just because I want to have access to the trading post. I don't have any money. I don't want to use waypoints. But then like, you know, I'll be walking through like the road goes down this little valley, and I've done it like 100 times, and now I'm going through it again, and all of a sudden I hear some NPC yell out, "Bomb the valley, we can't let them through," because it's a dynamic event I've never heard of, and I'm standing in the middle of it thinking, wait, what? And then this whole battle just pops up out of nowhere, and it's like, this did not happen last time. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of replayability in this game.
Oh God.
It keeps things interesting.
So, for people that think they're done, you're not.
And they've said as well,
Yeah.
ArenaNet have said as well, and they said this during the betas, that they will keep adding more dynamic events to the game. At the moment, there's a pool, for a given zone, there might be a pool of, 20 dynamic events for a zone, depending on what's going, sort of, there's some that'll be chains and what have you, but they demonstrated to us in the beta that they have the ability to just add events to a zone, at their discretion. If anybody took part in the second end of beta event when there was the Shatterer turns up and he turns people into branded and all that sort of stuff, that's really, really cool. But no one's seen that event in the live game. But that doesn't mean they can't go and do that, at a later date. And suddenly, but oh my God, there's this big event going on in Plains of Ashwood, that sort of thing. So just because you've been to a zone, you think, oh yeah, I completed that zone. I've seen everything. Chances are you probably haven't, because some of those dynamic events don't have a guaranteed spawn. Sometimes the event only spawns after a certain event has been completed and another event's been completed, which then allows an NPC to be there who then spawns the next event, or whatever the case, is. An example being in the human starting zone, there's the monastery where there's the beer and stuff. There's a chain there where the centaurs try and attack and steal the beer, because why wouldn't they? Because it's awesome monk beer. And you can fend off the centaurs, and then they send a caravan to this outpost that's nearby with a woman who's seriously intoxicated, and she'll go to the outpost, and then she'll head off into the Godzilla swamp, and then she heads out to the sort of exit to the next zone. But there's an alternate version to that event where she goes to the nearby outpost, and then that gets attacked by centaurs after she delivers her supplies. And then they'll be like, oh, okay, we need to, now that we've handed off that attack, we need to send out the supplies to the next thing, and it sends you then to the next outpost, and you're getting attacked along the way, and then you get sent finally to Beetleton, which is finally the caravan stops. Okay, we made it, great, whatever. And the whole way you're getting assaulted by centaurs, but that event can split, and it can take you either to the Godslost Swamp, or it can take you to Beetleton, which is the other way that it goes. And that's really interesting, because you might have just seen one of those, like, oh, cool, yeah, I've seen that event. You might see that event again, and it'll actually go in a different path than what it was before. And I don't know what the conditions are to create that sort of scenario, but it's there. And some of them, it's a case of, oh, that event failed, so now there's a different event to change what happened. So don't just assume, oh, I've seen that event. Stick around. There might be something. It might be the same, but it might be something different, or it might lead you on to something else instead of this. Cool, you made it to 80, great. Go back and just look at some stuff, because I guarantee you'll have a great time, and you'll probably get as much reward out of that as you will from, not in terms of gold and gear or what have you, but you'll get as much reward in terms of just sheer enjoyment of going, man, that was fun, and I really had a great time, and I was only here for 2 hours, I didn't really make a lot of money, but I had a really good time because I cleared out a zone, or I did some really great events. I saw a good story, and I think that, to me personally, and different people have different opinions, but to me personally, that has more value than, I farmed 2 gold in this session, or I got that item, or I did, I had a great time because I saw something really cool. I saw something different and unique and interesting that I hadn't seen before, either in this game or in any other game that I've played, and that has a really, really great deal of value.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are used to the idea of feeling left behind if they don't level at a certain pace, or they feel like they're not completing the game if they're not hitting level 80. And this game is still pushing our comfort zone of changing the way that we play a game. It is definitely a lot more like a single-player game as you're playing it with story and what's included than it is like a multiplayer game. However, that's not saying it isn't a multiplayer game. It plays extremely well as a multiplayer game, but the way that you level and the way that you go through the content is more like a single-player game because it's more rewarding like a single-player game versus an MMO where if you do something, it doesn't have any effect on what happens next. So, well, anybody else have anything to add about exploration and stuff like that? I don't want to beat this one to death with a horse, like a dead horse beating it with a stick.
Flogging a dead horse.
Beat it.
Where are you coming from with this shit today?
Me?
What?
You.
I'm very musical.
Not you.
Today. Sorry. Oh, me? Yeah.
You're fine.
Oh,
Me.
I thought he was talking about me.
Go ahead, Brian.
That's the
I'm
phrase, it's
self-censored.
flogging a dead horse.
Go ahead, Brian.
Flogging?
Oh. No, I was just going to say one last thing about the exploration. And you were mentioning about people being worried about being left behind in levels and stuff. I think the amount of exploration in the game adds another interesting aspect to helping or hanging out with people who are lower level than you. Because, I've had some friends who, I'm already level 80, but they're only in 30s or 40s or whatever, and they're in zones I've never been in before, and they're like, oh, I just feel like a little company, want to hang out or whatever, or I need help with this personal story or something. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'll come hang out. And then, I'm running around with them, and then they're just like, if you've got something better you want to do. I'm like, no, shut up. I want to see what happens. There's still reasons to go back and do things, so it doesn't really matter what level you are. It's just a matter of access.
Yeah.
I'll quote myself on this one where one of our early podcasts we talked about what is the end game, and we said the whole game is the end game, and that's exactly exemplifies Brian's talk there, where You know, even though you're 80, you're still playing the whole game as the whole game. Being 80 just gives you access to more of it, and I think people need to remember that.
I think you hit it right on the nail. I think that's it, man. That is exploration. That is support. That is Guild Wars 2 podcast number 13. I want to thank everyone for coming out. Remember, you can watch our podcast live every Monday at 5:15 p.m. Eastern, and you can see it on YouTube every Wednesday. Go to alltabme.com to check it out. If you have any questions for the next podcast, you can do so there on the forums. Or if you'd like to sign up on the forums and hang out with the community, you can do that as well. We like to talk about new events. We like to talk about what's going on with the game. And just a good, friendly community and a lot of people that like to help out. Also, we like to stream live. You can go to alttabme.com/live, and you can watch us playing. I believe in the next couple days, if we can't get the group together tonight because of power outages, we are going to try to do it the next couple days, but Arcanix is going to try to clear Zaytan. Woo! If you can't catch it live on the stream, we'll definitely be putting that one on YouTube, as well as our domination in the World v World arena on Yax Ben versus Darkhaven. Squish! Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.